the second semester. Maybe it's the first one. And this presentation, actually, it is from one topic. And this topic, I titled it First In, Last Out, which is called FILO, Experience of Organizational Leadership and Change. And what I'm going to share today is not the data findings, but the background of all the ideas where I'm leading to develop this theory. Yeah, so we are going to share together and have just some times for us to have the idea for this theory. Yeah, so I'm Paulo Kazimoto, as Dr. Amanda has said, and now we can move on with our topic directly. Obviously, everyone needs to have experience, and we normally see in all calls for services, we normally need continuous experiences. And we normally need leaders who have vision most of the time for their quality, because we want them to perform better in our organizations. And we would like to have also leaders who have really managing abilities to make changes in organizations. But one thing which I have realized, no one is born with experience. The experience may come with the way you are doing things. And you can see, as we know very well, if you read the Bible itself, there's no one who came just from nowhere. All of us, if you read Genesis chapter 1, you'll realize that you have been made from somewhere, and God made you. But you'll see many people in organization, we are running towards something which we call competitive advantage, whereby you like to be the first one. You like to be the winner. You like to be the one who is known, maybe the one who is the best. So everyone would like that one position. This is Winter and Stone and Dagan who have just described that. And Hirlak has said that if someone will need experience, at least you have to be a kind of person that motivate employees at workplace. That means there are some leaders who have that experience. He's a very good one to motivate employees. Others, they work as exemplary. That means they work as co-workers. They work with our employees. You don't know that he's a leader. He's just mixing himself in everything and working with other people. And many leaders, they want to create a good environment where they would like to make a change, which can affect which can help the employees to change their perception, their attitude in the organization. And some people also, they said they need managing change. They need to manage change in organization, because this is what is bringing the success of any organization. And to make all this, they need effective leaders who can recognize that the best thing to do in organization, you need to prepare your employees for that change so that they can make a difference. And that have been really the habit of many people in this world, actually, for what we are doing. And now, having this one in mind, because everyone would like that change, performance, success, everything which is good, having competitive advantage, we need people who have experience. But now, that experience, we don't know how it starts and how it ends. That's why we came up with this idea. Can we have a time to find out what comes first in and what goes out? And then we came up with this topic of first in and last out theory. Now, for us to understand this, I've just made some observations, which is the background of what I'm thinking about. In some areas of experiences, one, we're going to see the life and death, which we'll call maybe characterized by love. And having that experience from maybe planting and harvesting. This is the area of farmers, agriculture. We have also, and maybe we'll talk about the parents and children when it comes to the protection and care. So these few examples will lead us now to know what we can do in terms of leadership organization and leadership organization change. We are going to see exactly if there is a possibility for us to think the first thing which comes in is the last thing that goes out. So this background of my study is trying to show us exactly that there's something you have to come up with, and it's the same something you're going to go with. Now, the first one is life and death. All of us, we know that something has to exist, but existence, it may sound different from different perspectives. Basically, it is subjective because we have different kind of things. We have companies, we have people, human beings, and we have even objects. When it comes to the human being, we talk about life. And when we talk about life, we have two elements in existence, birth and death. And if you read very well, when we talk about life, the Genesis chapter 1, 26, 27 exactly says, the 27 especially, so God created man in his own image, and the image of God created him, male and female created them. So when you see, at least we have seen where the man came from, created by God himself. So these two factors of death and birth, they are leading us to know how things are happening. That's the same way you will see companies, managers, leaders, they're struggling to keep the way between death and birth, which is life. And one of the side, they would like to keep people alive. And the managers, they would like to keep their companies alive, not failure. So there's no company which will want to exist today and disappear tomorrow. And so these two things, they normally coexist. When we talk about life, there's something to be born, and there is sometimes also to die. So the existence which you have in your life, it comes first, and it is the one which will quit you as well. Maybe we may not go deep in the discussions, but you see that human beings, as the companies struggle, the company managers struggle to keep their company existing, even the human beings, all of us, we struggle to live. No one will like to die. That's why every time, even if you are sick, just a little flu, headache, you run to the hospital, because there's this concept already in our mind, death and birth. But the people, you'll see what you come up with when you are born, the first thing you come up with is the same thing which will go out. And you may just realize that when you are born, you breathe the first, and when you die, that breath will go away. So that's first in and first out. And most of the time, you will realize that there is no one who will say, I'm going to keep my life, because if it is given to you, is the only thing which will go so from you. Of course, we have processes. That's what will make our research now to go on. From the time you are born, the time you die, there is a process which you have to know about, what happened. But if you just take a little example, when a child is born, everyone celebrates. They're happy. Of course, they'll do everything. They'll wash you. They'll just do everything they want to do for you because you are coming for the first time. They give you respect. In other words, they show that they love you, the people. And you'll see also the same scenario when someone is no longer. Your people, they'll show that they love you. They'll take you to a certain place, maybe mortuary or the church, pray for you. They'll do everything, almost the same thing that they did when you were born. So the first in is always showing also at the last time. So many things happen in our life, but we'll know the things which happen at the beginning, mostly they are likely the things will happen at the last time. If we take another example, planting or harvesting the produce. When you take just a simple seed, beans, maize, don't know anything you want to put in your farm or your garden. If you observe this one, this one is experience which have been there. The image of what you have planted in your garden, the same thing is the one which will come out. Of course, science, they are trying to talk about evolution and other things, but everything, if you see what is being planted in a garden, in a farm, beans will just get beans out. You'll never see something coming out which you did not plant yourself. That's why even God said, let us make the man in our image. That's why we are in the image, the same image of God. So you'll say that there's nothing which you can do. What you have done is what will come out. And that is very important, especially, I normally also connect this one to the leaders. The knowledge you have is the one which people will have, or what people will have from you. The parents and children, we know that at least everyone has one mother and one father. And we know that the parents, they care about their children so much. If you read about David and his son Absalom, he cried, even if the child did wrong, but David cried. Because this relationship, you cannot cut it. It comes first and it is ending like that. Parents, children. If you read Luke chapter 15, you'll find also the prodigal son. The father was praying for the son. And when the prodigal son came back, the father was more happy. So that care, you have the protection will always be there. Parents remain parents forever. You start with your parents, and it's the only parent you go with. The first parent is the last parent. There's no two parents. No one will say, I have two fathers. No, there's only two parents. You have the mother, and you have one father. You can have so many siblings, but you can have only one father and one mother. So that couple, you cannot separate it when it comes to the existence. So that is in terms of first in and last out. We can see that one clearly. In terms of life experience. Now, what comes to the organization experience, what can it be found there? One thing you'll know, the manufacturer cannot make something, as I said from the farming, the manufacturer cannot make something without doing a design. You cannot just enter in the industry, you cannot just start the machine and start doing things that you don't know about. They normally come up with blueprint, a design, and that design is the one which will come out. And that one is obvious. That one is obvious. And a leader will always have a vision of what to be, which means your today is your tomorrow. Your yesterday, it is your today. So whatever you think about, whatever you are doing today, that's what will be for you tomorrow. And you can take into another example, which is really, I've been doing observations. I don't know if you ever seen a driver who is taking people to a place that he does not know. We normally have, even us, you've never been in a country, you'll have the name, you'll have all the map, you'll have all the GPS of everything before even you reach there. The first what you have is the last which you'll see. Exactly when you start the journey, you know the destination even before reaching there. That's why I like actually the Christians. We know heaven even before we are there. That's why everyone is praying to be in heaven. And I wish all of you to be there. So our first in, it should be our last out. Before you reach to where you are going, a driver or traveler, you have to know where you are going. And that's what we need from leaders. And we know now the experience. From where you are and where you are going, there's a lot which has going on. So we need to know also about that. There's one gentleman who is called John Salka. from US, New York City. This one was in a department whereby they could just help, especially for the fire when it comes burning, this company. So one person wrote about this one, who is called John. Two people, they wrote, John and Barrett. They talked about this and they stated that the lack of leadership can kill people. When you don't know where to take your people, there can be a problem because people don't know where they are going. But as a leader, we need to have that experience where we are taking people. We should know before the people go there, we should know the place very well. And we should know about it very well. That's why our mindset, our experience, which we have, is the one which will lead the process, which will lead the progress of any other things. So he came up in that study, they came up at least with 3 statements. You need to follow the smoke. When there is this burning of house somewhere, fire in somewhere in the house, they normally see where's the smoke. They see the smoke even before reaching to the house. So they will know, oh, there is something coming out. So that is something which is the reality, which is not yet. They don't know the intensity, they don't know the gravity of how things are happening, but they go on that smoke only. Oh, I think it's that direction. So you need to know also the names of your people who are going there. Before even they go there, I'll send so and so. Because the people you have sent there, they should be the same people that will come back. When they are entering the house, it is burning. So you need to know the number of people who are there. Why? Because if there's anyone who could stay there because of too much fire, at least you should recognize that so and so did not come back. Did not come back. So you need to convey the idea and talk to them and share with them of what the process, that's define your top which of what you are going to take with them. So this very good theory also which can help us. So when you're doing something, you need to know better of what you are doing before you start what you are doing. Now, that is when you are leading people as well. But we have also leadership change experiences. This is very important, actually. Some authors, they say leadership change brings positive change in organization. When a leader has that capacity of seeing things and improving things in the organization, he's the one who can help to make change. And they say also the very good experience in organization for leaders, actually, it is when you have a team spirit and when you take time with your workers. And that time which you take to make workers, it remains for them in memory. And this one, Erickson and Gratton, they stated that in their study, people, when they miss you, they'll always remember who you were or what you were doing for them, which means you can have left when you came, what you did to your people. They'll still remember that one, even when you go. Because the same thing is the one which you're going to move with. This is when sometimes, if what you are doing to people, you continue doing the same until the end. And I did not put that quotation from the Bible there. So continue doing good when you have the opportunity. Maybe next time I'll add that one in. So we have to know that really time is the only good gift. When it comes to the change, the time is the very good gift which we do. So when we talk about first in and last out, we have so many factors which you have to consider. We have so many factors we have to consider. And one of the ways to make organization leadership and change, to reach the first in and last out, there's one thing you have to know: knowledge management. Knowledge management. When I've been trying to read about this one, I found that knowledge management is the key for success. And the only thing you can give out is what you have. If you don't know anything, what are you going to give to others? First in, last out. What you have is the one that you will give to others. So we need your experience so that it can be leading others. Another point which is very important for experience from leaders in organization, integrity and passion. People, they need your trust. People need your trust to them. If you trust your people, they trust you as well. So what you give is the one which you will receive. And you'll realize that many managers, they state, people don't quit a job, but they quit the leaders. If they don't trust you, they'll quit the organization, which means you don't know the destination where they are going. You call them, you're working with them, but you don't know where you are taking them. They have been lost somewhere. So as leaders, that is one of the experience. We need to know, how do we lead the people? Where are we taking them? Do we know where they are going? And now it goes also to our leaders, maybe in the church, especially the pastors, teachers, where do you take your people? So those experiences, they are one of the backgrounds which I'm having, and to develop this theory of first in and last out. Teamwork. You realize that when we work together, especially because we're talking about leader, a leader is someone who is working with his people. There's no commandment there. There's no someone who is commanding any. All of us, we are workers, co-workers. So you show others what to do. And we realize that if an organization is standing on teamwork, now the leaders have good collaboration and your workers will be committed to what you are doing. So all these concepts, we need now to develop them and find out how they are working to maintain the status of a leader, his experience when he comes in and when he goes out. Now, for this study, actually, because this was the background, as I've explained to you, those are the ideas I'm having to develop this theory. Of course, I've just done so many things about it. I've just gave you the summary of few things which can give you the highlight on what we are going to do now. Now, this study actually will be based on observation, basically what is happening from experiences from active leaders and retired leaders. So I've been observing, I've been just talking, maybe if I've not yet approached you, but I'm talking to leaders, I'm observing leaders, that's what I'm writing about this research. And the study will use the mixed research method. That means we'll have qualitative and quantitative as well. So basically descriptive with grounded theory, if you know about the grounded theory. So that means from what I'll be getting from people, that's what will support if really this theory of first in and last out is working or it can help people. What you come up with is the same which you are going to go with out. So that's what will help me to develop this theory of first in and first out. So the purposive sampling technique will be applied to select the participant from retired and active leaders from organization. This is not because I need to target the people who we are talking that they have experience. So I need to learn from those people. I need to know those who have worked for many years in several positions. And we have structured actually a survey and also an interview guide to collect data so that we can have the best information from this category of people. And some of the questions which are going to lead our research. And this is where you'll see exactly what I'm looking for. The first question could look like, what do you think about yourself for your leadership? I would like to know the perception of each and every one. We have already questions for that to respond to these research questions. We need to know yourself. Do you know yourself? When you go to that position, when you are called, when you were called before, what is your perception for your own attitude, for your own capacity as a leader? Were you having experience? And the second research question will be, what others say or think about you? So we'll have those from other people who will be responding also as well, because the workers, the employees will be involved as well. What do they say about the leaders, about their leaders? So when we have the other's perception, it will help us now to know what you know and what others know about you. Because from when you enter the leadership, and when you're going out in the leadership, there's a long process. If you know yourself when you came, then something will happen when you're going out. Now, the third question will be, what do you think about what others say about you? Because we will share at least some statement, which it is a process. It's not going to end 1 day or 1 year. Maybe I'm not finished it in this year. We have to finish one group and then continue another group, the same organizations, and then come back again to the leaders so that they can give us the views from what we got from their employees. And then we can find out the last part to find the differences between when the leader came in and when the leader was out, especially for retired, or for the years you have spent in the company until then, what have been happening. So we'll have that perception from the leaders and from the workers, employees as well. So that experience will help us to confirm that what comes in will have the factors. We have some components actually, which you have to find out: the knowledge, integrity, passion, trust, knowledge management, commitment, engagement. We have so many factors which we are going to find out among the leaders and the employees, how it's helping the leaders when he comes in, if he goes with the same thing when he goes out. Sometimes you may come in when you have trust. We are going to see, the study maybe will tell us if really the same trust, you go with it when you go out. To confirm our theory, maybe first in, last out. Is what you come in the organization the same what you go out with, or what you came with changed when you went out? So that is the perspective of our study. We like to share that one, and maybe one day we'll share with you the outcome of this one. And then at the end, now we'll structure very well the theory, and we'll structure all the factors which are evolved for the first in, and the factors which are evolved for the last out, so that we can help leaders to have a good experience, knowing what has to come in first and what has been going out when they finish their career, maybe. Because we have the retired who will give us the experiences, and we have also the active leaders who will give us their experiences. So we'll be having the comparison actually between the leaders who are active and the leaders who are retired. Especially for the beginning of their jobs, we need to have at least the comparison between the two groups. Those who are active, what was the first in? Those who are retired, what was the first out, the first in? And when we go to the first out, we can see also the trend. Maybe we will see also the trend on what will be going on for those who have not yet been retired. But we'll have the conclusion from those who have been retired to know exactly what happened when they were retired for their services. This is what we're going to do for this theory of first in and last out, for the organizational leadership and change theory from experiences of leaders. I think that's the end of the short presentation of this background. And if there are some questions, we can be willing to answer some of them. Thank you.
Dr. Kazimoto, thank you very much for your presentation. I have a question straight away, actually. Is this a piece of research that you are working on presently, or what was the time scale, or what is the time scale of the research?
Actually, I'm working on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay, so it's like a progressive process then. So yes, we've had like a preview of what you're doing. Okay.
Yeah, this part of background only.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. Lovely. Okay. That's really useful actually, because we don't get many presentations like that during the research seminars. But I think it's really useful to sometimes present a piece of research even before the findings have been collected, because we get an insight into the background, and for the research as well, you can get some preliminary feedback. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for your presentation. I'm sure that we have some questions that we want to ask. So I'd like to open the floor for questions. If you have a question, just feel free to unmute and ask your question to Dr. Kazimoto.
Actually, the research question, the first research question, I made a questionnaire which was approved by the RRDC. So I'm just working first of all on that part, and then I'll continue just working on the other part. Yeah. Oh,
I see. That's interesting. So the research itself is being split into different sections. So yes. One question for, okay, all right, okay, that's another way of doing it. So okay, so this is like a first phase.
Yes.
Okay, okay. All right, that's interesting. Anyone have a question that they want to ask? Don't be shy. I can see a sea of names here.
I have a question, but possibly Dr. Kazimoto has already described that. It's on the health aspect of the leader, because many times our health does influence how we lead sometimes. So I wondered whether that's a variable that you have included in your questionnaire or in your variables. Just
come again, please, Dr. Josephine.
I'm asking whether health aspect has been included in as one of your variables in your research.
Oh, that's very good, interesting. I did not touch it as health component, but now maybe this will be very good for me to add it as health component, because when I add we talk about the commitment and engagement, we have some kind of questions which are related to the health, but maybe we should take it as the component on its own, because some things may happen based on health itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another question I had is that you said you have been observing people with regard to this research. So is what you have been describing, the information you have given us, the discussion you had at the beginning, does it fit with what you are trying to tell us? Does it fit what you have observed? Your topic, does it fit what you have observed?
Yeah, actually, it fits very well. Of course, from my conclusion itself, even from other research papers, few of them, which are talking about experiences, because when something comes in, is the only thing also which comes out. As I gave the example, like when you're on the farm, if you plant seeds, which comes out is the same color, the same thing which you have planted in your farm. It can change in quality or in quantity, but it will come still the same. It will be the same. And when it comes to life, if I go now to the essence of creation, you'll find that when we are born, we have that life. And the one which comes out from us so that we not exist is again that life which is taken from you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And if you take in the manufacturing companies, as I gave us another observation, when they are making something, they normally come up with a blueprint, a design, before even they go to the manufacturing or the company on the machine. So the same thing, at least they have to come up with what they have designed. They have designed already.
May I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
So in this study, you are wanting to prove, is that what you're trying to do? To prove the veracity of that theory that you have?
Yes, that is, I want to develop that one and let people understand that that theory should exist.
How would you account for transformation, for unexpected change, or whatever that may not come out with that result?
Okay.
When the result would be different from what you were expecting.
Yeah, that's why we have different stages on controlling what we need to come up with from the factors. First of all, we need to know what the leaders themselves, they think about themselves. And we need to know about what people think about the leaders when they are leading. And we need to know what the leaders think about what others are thinking about them. Because from there, now we'll have the clear picture of actually what are the components, maybe factors, which are involved in this theory and those which cannot be involved in the theory. As you have said, maybe some of them, after the research, we may find that this one is not applicable for this theory. Then we'll remain only with those which will confirm our theory.
Thank you. I'm wondering how your questions will affect your theory.
Yes. Maybe I don't get the question, ma'am.
Yeah, your questions are what you think about yourself, what other things think about you. How would you tie that up with your theory? How will they relate?
Okay, for this case, because we are looking for what you come up with, what is all the capacities or the abilities of the leader first, if you are a leader, because this theory may just, I'm applying it for the leadership only, but I think it can be applicable for all other sectors, including science. Everywhere we can still, someone can duplicate it when it is out. But for now, we want to know that question, like when I'm asking, what do you think about yourself? That means I want to know what's the first in for yourself. What do you think you have? What are the capacities which you are having? And because we cannot just base on you alone, that's why we involve the people who can certify who you are talking, what you are talking about. And then the other people, their perception will tell us exactly to confirm if what you said is what people are thinking about you. And then again, yourself, we have to ask another series of questions. It is a long study, actually. What the people said about you, to see if you can confirm of also what the people said about you.
I'm sorry, I'm asking too many questions.
That's good, it's a clarification.
Wouldn't it be kind of logical that if you ask, what do you think about yourself now? Let's say you're addressing the retirees. What do you think about yourself now? What did you think about yourself when you first began? I think that one will show, you know, the beginning and the result.
Exactly, ma'am. That's what really we are going to do. We are going to have two groups. The control group, that means when you were a leader and when you are retired. So those two various will come in our discussion for the study, now and before. Thank you so much.
I also have a couple of questions, but I want to open out to anyone else who wants to ask a question, either about the theory or the direction of the research. Any questions that anyone has?
Yes, I have. That's on grounded theory. I think Dr. Kazimoto said that it's mixed methods, and he talked about grounded theory.
Yes.
And just a question. Many people who do grounded theory do not do a little review at the beginning. because they are afraid that it will influence the theory that you're going to come up with. So at that point, you're not doing it until you actually start collecting data. You may have an idea here or another, but you start collecting data and then you analyze that. And from your analysis, that's when you start using what you have found out to look at what other people have said in your lit reviews. So knowing that that's what's going to happen, that's what happens in grounded theory. The question is, if you are doing quantitative research, which requires lit review, how are you going to balance that? Where quantitative research is saying, no, you must have lit review, and then grounded theory is saying, no lit review. So how are you going to balance this?
Yeah, actually for now, if I could say, I've started from maybe the ground theory, because most of the descriptions which I'm putting there, they don't have literature review. They don't have just really too much literature review. Of course, for leadership experience, we have some literature review. But if you see the essence of my theory like existence, of course, I'm basing it on the Bible, which is obvious because it is known by at least all the Christians. I may not call it even a theory because that is our existence. So we are going to use actually I was reading this morning even before, we can use the ground theory on the basis of when you don't have anything, or you can base it on your result, as you have said. So in this case, I'm trying to use the ground theory to help me actually what I'm observing. And then I read some book and compare. Actually, I have written something which is quite too much, maybe, of what does not have any literature review. The few literatures just only confirming what I'm getting out on my observation.
Dr. Kazimoto, would it be easier maybe if you started with grounded research, where you don't need the lit review, and then go into when you have found out, and then write your questions after you have done the grounded review research, so that you're using the findings from there to help you with your questions. I know you already done a lot of lit review at the moment, but I'm just wondering, those parts that you're talking about that don't have lit review at right now, would you be able to just do that research first?
Yeah, thank you so much for that maybe advice, because actually the first questionnaire which I developed, it was made without literature review. It's now when I'm adding the literature review from the first question I made to confirm at least the certain terms, so that I don't really just put only things which are not really confirmed by other researchers. I don't know if that one is good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And thank you so much for that advice, because ground theory, actually, that's what you have to base on without literature.
Okay, I also had a couple of questions for you, Dr. Kazimoto.
Yes.
This very interesting piece of research, and interesting that you're taking it in segments and looking at each question in detail. You know, listening to your ideas around first in and last out, it almost sounds as though the research kind of borders on social psychology, or you know, it almost sounds as though it goes in, it's kind of sort of multidisciplinary, like it's kind of psychological and sociological as well. So I was wondering, can this theory, this first in, last out, and I know that you haven't finished this research yet, but I'm just wondering your ideas around this, can it be applied to other fields and other circumstances? And if so, which do you think will be most suitable to apply this theory?
Yeah, actually, it can be, actually, it is applicable for any other area of studies, or maybe areas. We were in the, earlier before this seminar, we were in one webinar with the arts and humanities. And I tried to just to say something about it. And the professor who was taking the webinar, actually he saw it directly that can be applicable for the area, even for the arts and humanities, the languages. And he used something, and maybe we'll work on it later on. But this theory is not only for business or education, it will be actually based on any area. That's why we are trying to use the ground theory so that we have all the observations from many perspectives. Like what also Dr. Josephine has said, maybe the health, we can add some other factors as we move on, we can still get more factors which could be evolved. So any area can use this one, because in all the areas of life, actually we have something which starts and something goes out.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for that. It just gives us a bit of an insight of the scope of this particular theoretical idea. So it will be very interesting for you to perhaps do a follow-up when you're further along in the study, maybe towards the end, and see how things have shaped out and get some more information. So thank you very, very much. I want to just direct everyone to the chat. Jumbo has put our evaluation form in the chat. If you haven't already done so, then just click on chat at the bottom of the screen and just basically click the link. It will download onto your computer, and you can either you can fill in the form in your own time, but we really do value your feedback. So please do click that link that's in the chat already and make sure that you submit that form. Dr. Kazimoto, we want to just really show you some gratitude for what you've presented to us. I can tell by the questions that we have been interested, and we have been even inspired, and we have learned something new about a new idea. And I hope that we all can take away some ideas for our own research as well. But thank you very much for your time and your efforts, and for being willing to share. Thank you very much.
Thank you too. Thank you.
Thank you. So, so all that remains for me to say is thank you everyone for coming, and please look out for the advert for the next research seminar. I can't say who will be the presenter yet, but we will know very soon, and you'll receive a SARA announcement about it. Okay, Dr. Kung, did you want to say anything more? If not, we can pray, or if you can pray to close us off, that would be really nice.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Kazimoto, for your time and for your knowledge that you share with all of us today. Thank you, Dr. Amanda, who find a wonderful researcher to share with us some new area that we have learned today. All right, let's pray, everyone. Dear Father in heaven, we thank you so much for the wisdom you give to Dr. Kazimoto and all of us. And thank you so much for this opportunity that we can learn new way, new thing, and new knowledge that we is not our field, but is inspire us to do research more. Lord, be bless each one of us as we are moving toward the Sabbath. Help each one of us to be prepared and help us to have peace on our Sabbath. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you
Amen.
so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.